Hey everyone, welcome back to Power Stroke Maintenance. Today I'm going to talk about the importance of getting good quality fuel in your Super Duty. When I first bought my truck, I just put diesel from the pump in it. I had no idea that diesel quality has gone down over the last few years and that the quality standards of diesel in the US are very low compared to other countries in the world like the UK. And so I really had no idea. And then I started watching some videos of different YouTubers, Bill Hewitt and Power Stroke Tech Talk with A-Rod, and they talked a lot about how especially the newer diesels have very sensitive fuel systems and very sensitive emission systems. And what that means is the fuel that you put in here is really going to affect performance in these newer trucks dramatically. Now, I know, and everyone talks about how the older diesels, you could put like home heat and oil in them and they'd still run, and that obviously is true. But the fact that these newer trucks like mine have the CP4 pump, which is very prone to failure, especially if there isn't enough lubricity in the diesel fuel, and then you have the EGR, the SCR, and the DPF system as a whole that are all very finicky. They require a lot of sensors, and especially if you're idling your truck a lot, the poor quality diesel fuel that has the lower cetane rating, which is basically the ignitability of the diesel fuel, when it burns, it's not going to burn as clean. And so what happens is if you just put pure diesel fuel from a pump, especially the truck stop like biodiesel blends, you know, like it says here, you're supposed to run max 20% biodiesel, right? Like that's like worst case scenario. If you're putting crappy fuel in the truck, it's gonna make the truck run like shit, right? And so I had no idea about this until I started watching PTT and Power Stroke Help and really hearing the stories about customers that had seen incredible turnarounds by just running an additive in their fuel. And so I was always one of those people that looked at additives like you put it in if your truck is running poorly, like you put in injector cleaner or a fuel system cleaner maybe once a year. I never really put it in my gas car. And since running additives, I've tried a bunch of different ones, and I settled on using the Arch Oil A6500, which is like the everyday diesel treat. It's night and day. Like I've gained like 2 to 3 miles per gallon, especially on the highway. The truck runs way smoother. I do fewer regens, and I really feel like I'm a lot more protected, especially with my CP4 and, you know, the high pressure fuel system that I have. It just gives me peace of mind running an additive in the fuel. Now, obviously, additives can get expensive, and running Arch Oil, like they're probably one of the more expensive additives. But the way I look at it is if it will help me prevent costly repairs on this truck, which, you know, a new fuel system in this thing is $10,000 to $15,000 with labor. So if I can prevent that and get a ton of mileage out of this truck, like that's the whole purpose of this channel. I am trying to take this truck to 500,000 miles or more. I want to run up the miles, and I don't want diesel fuel, poor diesel fuel quality, more specifically, to be the reason that this doesn't get and turn into a high mileage truck. So I went from running no diesel additive to finding resources and learning from you know, Bill and A-Rod that like you need to be putting at least at a minimum a diesel fuel additive in your truck every fill up to ensure that the engine and the fuel system are being lubricated, that you're not plugging your emissions system, and you know that your fuel is stabilized and running cleaner. Like the other thing is, you know, people put additives in their trucks in the wintertime to keep the fuel from gelling. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do it in the summertime to get those same performance gains and to make sure that, you know, if you're putting, or if you by accident, you know, maybe you stop at a truck stop, you're on a road trip, you put crappy fuel in, you need to be protected. And so, you know, I mean, the title of this video is why do you need to run fuel additives? And you know, I essentially have gone from running no additives and just doing regular oil change and maintenance to being completely sold on the additives just from how smooth the truck runs, the responsiveness of the throttle, and then just the mile per gallon gains that I've gotten. So If you don't run an additive, I would consider running one. There's a lot of great options out there. Like I've said, I like arch oil the best because I feel like it gives me the best fuel economy and the truck sounds and runs the smoothest on arch oil. But there's great options in the marketplace. I would definitely check some out, try a few, see what works. I know Power Service is like the most widely known, probably they're probably most well known for the the 911 diesel service for when you have your fuel gel or your fuel gets frozen. The last thing I'll leave you with is when I think about diesel trucks nowadays, I feel like we went from diesel trucks in the early 2000s and the 90s and the 80s being like tractors. Like you could just run them to infinite hours and they were pretty cheap to repair and you didn't have all these finicky parts. We went from diesel trucks being like tractors to diesel trucks being like race cars because of how complicated they are, how expensive they are to fix, all the parts and all the systems working together. So that's how I kind of view it. I view the truck less as a tractor now and more as like, this is like a very temperamental machine that needs to be treated nicely. Otherwise, it's not going to run well for you. And it's unfortunate that we've come to that. But I think additives go a long way, both for oil and for fuel, to help make sure that the temperamental beast that we have for fun will behave itself and operate when we need it to. Thanks for checking out this video. I appreciate it. Definitely drop a comment below. Let me know what additives you're running. I'm always curious to hear what people are using, and we'll see you next time.